Hello fellow Protoss, my name is Alchris and allow me to introduce your newest agent, the romantic swordswoman, Rin. Rin is a striker void type combatant. She specializes in single target damage and comboing her own cards. She takes the main DPS slot in your teams and has a stance based mechanic to unlock her card's potentials. She however does not play well with other DPS. First, let's take a look at her deck. She has a 1 cost basic attack card, a 2 cost basic attack card, and a basic shield card. Her gimmick card is Drawing Slash, which is a 0 cost attack card. It deals 120% damage and enters her Dark Mist stance. This activates the Dark Mist Blade art effect on her cards. She maintains the stance until another combatant uses an attack card. You can tell if she has the stance on with a sword icon below her portrait. If you are already in the Dark Cloud stance when you use Drawing Slash, this will hit for another 50% increased damage. This card also has the haste trait, which allows her to use this card without the enemy counter going down. Her unique cards are Secret Art Destruction, which is a 0 cost skill card. This draws a card and puts Rin into the Dark Mist stance. Something worth pointing out is that when you epiphany this card, for some reason she forgets how to enter the Dark Mist stance. Instead, the card gives you various other effects. Secret Art Annihilation is a 1 cost attack card which has haste. It deals 150% damage and hits twice. This is her most consistent DPS card. Dark Mist Inner Art is a 1 cost skill. This allows her to maintain the Dark Mist stance in the current turn if another combatant uses an attack card. This can also be used to buff 30% card damage to her stance abilities. And lastly, Secret Art Black Dance, which is a 1 cost attack card. It only does 80% damage, but can hit up to 5 times. 1 for each skill card in hand for a total of 400%. Setting this card up can be rather difficult. Her ego skill is Secret Art Slash, which costs 6 ego points. It deals 400% damage, and more importantly, applies 2 stacks of Vuln on the target, increasing the damage the enemy will take for the next 2 attacks. Time her ego skill before hitting with the big attack cards. 6 ego points is expensive, so make it worthwhile. When deploying Rin, her playstyle revolves around keeping her stance active and then comboing her cards. She is really good at cycling her own cards to make this easier. Hand size is really important. Blade Dance requires up to 5 skill cards, as well as various other epiphanies that scale or interact with your hand. Unlock her first potential as soon as possible to unlock the ability for her basic attack cards to put her in the Dark Mist stance. Advanced play will involve good card sequencing, including knowing when to break stance to avoid losing too much damage from her fellow combatants. Either count cards or check your deck to understand what you have left to draw before breaking stance. There's no point in keeping stance if there are no ring cards left, or if you're going to draw a card that will place it back in stance anyway. Vice versa, don't break stance if your deck still contains a lot of ring cards. On to her pros and cons. While this is obviously subjective, utilizing her stance playstyle is quite a lot of fun for those who like these types of mechanics. She has fantastic single target damage. Her cards also have haste, allowing her to combo and kill a target before they even get a chance to attack back. Most of her cards are 1 or 0 cost, making it easy to play in sequence without relying on extra action points. And she has the ability to draw into her own cards. As for her cons, none of her cards or epiphanies can deal with AoE situations with a lot of mobs. Due to her wanting a team that has high skill cards but low attack cards make her team building rather limited. And without her stance, her cards are barely worth the cost. Blade Dance hitting with 80% damage is really sad for the cool animation. When it comes to partners, her best pairing is Scarlet. She will increase Rin's card damage by 15% as long as you use Rin's cards in a row. This makes card sequencing even more important, as you want to use at least 2 of Rin's cards into one of her high DPS cards for the 30% damage boost. Scarlet's ego skill uses 3 points, it deals 250% damage, and buffs Rin's cards based on how many buffs you currently have. You can also use Priscilla from the Battle Pass, increasing Rin's HP and damage by 8% and bonus damage when they are in the break state. Her ego skill deals 250% damage and allows one of Rin's attack cards to deal damage as if it was hitting the right elemental weakness. For 4-star, use Lillian. She buffs cards that cost 1 or less and grants further attack card damage if Rin uses a skill card. Her ego skill costs 3 points and deals 100% damage to all enemies. She also draws one of Rin's attack cards that cost 1 or less. Otherwise, you got Douglas, increasing attack by 8% and damage by 8% for the first turn. His ego skill costs 2 points and deals 120% damage to all enemies. When it comes to teams, as mentioned, she works best with any combatants that don't rely on attack cards. For example, Mika, who has an abundance of mainly skill cards. Her action point battery is less useful in Rin, but extra action points a turn is never a bad thing. Magna is a fantastic partner. She only has one real attack card, with the rest being skills, yet she still does a lot of damage with her counterattacks. Ray works as Rin's buffer, as Ray buffs cards that cost 1 or less. Strike of Darkness and Predator Blade are both really nice buffs as well, but since they're attack cards, timing them can be difficult. Nia is also amazing, as she has 0 attack cards, and she can cycle cards and potentially cast Rin's cards for free. Veronica actually works really well as well, as she acts as a sub DPS. Plus, after using her upgrade cards, she will mainly only have skill cards left. Blister shots do not count as using attack cards, and does not break Rin's stance. When it comes to memory fragments, one option is to use the 4-piece Conqueror's Aspect set, which increases crit damage by 35%, and the 2-piece Black Wing set, increasing her attack by 12%. Alternately, I find using 3 different 2-piece sets is best for her: Black Wing for attack, Executioner's Tools for crit damage, and Seth's Scarab to increase her basic attack card damage. For her main stats, get crit percent on her 4th slot, attack or void damage on her 5th slot, and attack on her 6th slot. Her substats are as follows: attack percent, attack, crit rate, and then crit damage. You need 1000 attack to reach Rin's potential breakpoint. After that, you can focus on crit values. I will now go over 3 examples of team setups. The first one I call Strike Quickly. It revolves drawing cards and scaling with hand size, and we're going to use Magna and Veronica with Rin. Remember to hit the 1000 attack breakpoint, then focus on crit stats. Remove a shield card as it's not needed to thin the deck. For epiphanies, we prefer drawing Slash to scale with hand size, and the other epiphanies to achieve extra cards. There's only 2 offensive striker cards in the common pool that would work with Rin. Sacred Strike is pretty good, a 1-cost exhaust that deals 200% damage and 2 tenacity damage. This is really good to open with to put them into break status. Pulverize isn't bad, you can easily go without it, but 300% damage that hits weakness is pretty good, plus it also draws a card. Belligerence also works in this setup as it's almost all skill cards, so those times where you don't draw a Rin attack card, Belligerence will draw you 2 cards for free. Taking a look at the deck, drawing Slash can deal up to 420% damage if you have a full hand. Destruction is good to draw 2 cards. At worst, it might draw 1 if Annihilation or Black Dance is already in your hand. I really like Annihilation that drops cost by 1 when paired with Magna, who generally has high cost cards. Black Dance should easily get 5 hits, as there will be very minimal attack cards in this deck, but a lot of skill cards. Any Magna build would work, but I prefer Magna that can apply Vuln to targets so that Rin can hit harder. Veronica's build is based around drawing cards with Repose and Kowalski. The idea with this deck is that you draw a bunch of cards, combo with Rin's cards at 0 cost, then finish off with Magna's cards. Next is 1000 Slashes, using Ray to buff Rin's multi-hit cards, and using Nia for deck cycling. This follows the base build, and then selecting epiphanies that deal multi-hits, and then buffing epiphanies. The idea using this deck is scaling up buffs so that the small multi-hit attacks to deal strong and consistent damage. Using Inner Art as an upgrade for the permanent 50%, and Destruction to add 50% damage as well. That alone already buffs Black Dance, Annihilation, and drawing Slash quite a lot. But now we also add Raise buffs. Either Dark Condensation works, one will give 50% to all cards, while 150 to a single card is just as good. Same with Resonating Darkness. You can either use the permanent upgrade to 1-cost attacks, or the 1-turn skill for the 80% increase. Snack Time will allow you to exhaust 2 unnecessary cards, with targeted drawing for one of Rin's, and the buff from Strike of Darkness as an upgrade instead of its usual attack. Predator's Blade is a fantastic buff for morale, however make sure you can re-enter Rin's stance. If you can't, just don't use Predator Blade that turn. Nia is all skill cards and can use cards like G-Chord, Adagio, and Curiosity to target draw Rin's cards. For my third build, I'm bringing Rin into a sub DPS role in a mono Void team, pairing her up with Kayron and Ray. While she doesn't do anything for Kayron, she is still a competent DPS while Kayron is ramping up. Get the Epiphany for Inner Art that starts every turn in stance, so you don't have to worry about it. I've removed Belligerence from a common card pool because you will have multiple attack cards in this deck. With Inner Mist keeping her in stance, she can use her card effects at the start of the turn, and then you can end with Kayron. Drawing Slash dealing massive damage at 0 cost, Destruction to draw cards, and Annihilation to drop the cost of cards for utility. Black Dance is just there, but you can definitely remove it altogether as it's unlikely you'll get a full 5 hits with it. You can use most of Kayron's builds as the main DPS. I would however avoid cards that benefit from generic exhaust since Rin doesn't offer that. And Ray can buff both Rin and Kayron with avoid buff cards. Timing a good Strike of Darkness to activate all basic cards is really good here, as it will auto-generate Kayron's futility cards if you have his first potential. And then you can use Rin's Annihilation to drop their cost to 0, so you can exhaust them very easily. We'll finish off by looking at her potentials and Manifest Ego. Rin's first potential allows both her basic attack cards to enter Dark Mist stance, an absolute requirement for Rin. Rin's second potential increases the damage of her basic attack cards by 5%, another 5% if she is above 500 attack. And Rin's third potential grants her a 5% crit chance bonus, and another 10% if she is above the 1000 attack. As for her Manifest Ego, at E1, lets her Black Dance deal 100% damage per hit. At E2, she gets a free Sheath card whenever she enters her stance. This is a 1-cost attack card that deals 60% damage and adds another 20% for each Rin card used this turn. Only one of these can be made a turn and will disappear if not used. This card is also free if you have no Rin attack cards left in your hand. At E3, her Ego skill now deals another 50% damage and applies 3 vulns now. At E4, if Rin is not in stance when a card is used, she will immediately go into stance. This is really good to keep her consistently in stance, however the card you use will likely not trigger its stance effect. E5 is a generic increase to cards, and at E6, she immediately goes into stance at the start of battle, and if you enter a turn with her already in stance, you gain 2 morale. And this wraps up this introduction to Rin. I hope this guide helps, and please share your Rin builds, as the roguelite nature of this game will create endless builds. Until next time, see you on board the SS Nightmare Protoss.